3 weeks passed. The Indomitable slowly came back to life. Coalition engineers worked alongside human crew members, sharing knowledge and techniques. Hull breaches were sealed. Damaged systems were repaired. The ship would never be perfect again, but it would fly. Captain Jiwoo stood in the repaired bridge and looked at the main screen. New star charts covered the navigation display. Charts provided by the Coalition. Charts that would guide them home. "It's beautiful," Navigator Yuna said beside him. "I never thought I'd see our sector of space mapped so clearly." "The Coalition has been exploring for thousands of years," Jiwoo replied. "They have knowledge we can barely imagine, and now they're sharing it with us." "Because they're afraid," said Weapons Officer Dong-Su from his station. "They want us as allies. They want our strength. Is that so wrong?" Yuna asked. "We need their knowledge. They need our protection. It's a fair trade." Jiwoo nodded. "Prepare for departure. We leave in 6 hours. Time to go home." In the hangar bay, humans and aliens said goodbye. Friendships had formed during the 3 weeks. Small friendships, uncertain and new, but real nonetheless. Science Officer Nari stood with the Coalition scientists. They exchanged data files and contact information. "Thank you for your patience with us," one scientist said. "We asked so many questions." "That's how we learn," Nari replied. "By asking. By listening. By trying to understand." She smiled. "You taught us much about your people, too. About your peaceful civilization. About your values. We admire that. Will you come back?" another scientist asked. "Will we see humans again?" "Yes," Nari said. "When we return to Earth, we'll tell our government about you. About the Coalition. I think they'll want to establish formal contact. Trade agreements. Maybe even exchange programs." The scientists looked excited. "That would be wonderful. There's so much we could learn from each other." Chief Engineer Taeho finished loading the last of the supplies that the Coalition had provided. Spare parts, raw materials, food, medicine, enough to get them home safely. He found Commander Vreltoth standing near the airlock. "Thank you," Taeho said, "for everything. We wouldn't have survived without your help." "You would have found a way," Vreltoth replied. "Humans are remarkably resourceful. But I'm glad we could assist." He paused. "Engineer Taeho, I have a question. A personal one. Ask. Why do humans push themselves so hard? Why accept danger and discomfort when you could choose safety and ease?" Taeho thought about this. "Because safety makes you soft. Ease makes you lazy. Challenge makes you strong. We push ourselves because that's how we grow, how we improve, how we become better than we were. But at what cost?" "Every choice has a cost," Taeho said. "Your species chose peace and knowledge. That's beautiful. But it also means you're unprepared for violence. Our species chose strength and resilience. That means we're always ready for conflict. Neither choice is perfect. They're just different paths to survival." Vreltoth nodded slowly. "I hope our paths continue to run together. I think the galaxy needs both kinds of species, the peaceful and the strong." "So do I," Taeho said. "So do I." On the bridge, final system checks were complete. All stations reported ready. Jiwoo sat in his captain's chair and looked at his crew. They were tired. They were scarred. But they were alive, and they were going home. "Commander Vreltoth," Jiwoo said into the communication channel. "The Indomitable is ready to depart. Thank you for your hospitality and assistance. We will not forget what you've done for us." "Safe travels, Captain," Vreltoth replied. "May your journey home be swift and peaceful. And may your space remain," alarms screamed. Every screen on the bridge turned red. Tactical displays lit up with new contacts. "Captain," Haywan shouted. "Multiple contacts emerging from subspace. 50 vessels. Unknown configuration." Jiwoo felt ice in his stomach. "Show me." The main screen displayed the incoming fleet. Black ships. Organic shapes. Pulsing with strange light. "It's them," Jiwoo said quietly. "The Devourers. They followed us." On the Coalition flagship, panic erupted. Commander Vreltoth stared at the sensor readings with disbelief. "How did they get here?" his tactical officer stammered. "There's been no wormhole activity. No distortion signatures. They just appeared." "Analysis," Vreltoth demanded. 50 vessels, sizes ranging from frigate to battleship class. Unknown weapons systems. They're moving toward us. Speed increasing. The officer's voice shook. "Commander, they're targeting everything. The asteroid field. The gas giant. Every ship, everything. Evasive action. All ships retreat to the rally point. Send distress signals to the nearest coalition bases. Sir, the nearest base is 3 days away at maximum speed. Then we run for 3 days, Reltoth said. We can't fight this. But on the Indomitable, Captain Jiwoo made a different decision. All hands, battle stations, he announced calmly. This is not a drill. Enemy fleet detected. Prepare for combat. The crew moved with practiced efficiency, weapons powered up, shields activated. Marines ran to their stations. This was what they trained for, what they were built for. Captain Yuna said, the coalition ships are retreating. I know, sir, we're outnumbered 50-1. We should retreat too. Jiwoo looked at his tactical display. The Devourers were moving to intercept the fleeing coalition fleet. They would catch them easily. Destroy them all, unless someone stopped them. Someone drew their attention. Haiwan, Jiwoo said. Target the nearest Devourer vessel. Full weapons lock. Sir, if we do that, they'll come after us instead of the coalition. I know, Jiwoo said again. That's the point. Dongsu turned in his chair. Captain, we can't fight 50 ships. We'll die. Maybe, Jiwoo agreed. But the coalition ships will live. They'll escape. They'll warn their people about this threat. And maybe someday they'll remember that humans stood and fought when everyone else ran. He opened a channel to the coalition flagship. Commander Vreltoth, this is Captain Jiwoo. Continue your retreat. Don't look back. Don't slow down. We'll buy you time. Captain, no. Vreltoth's voice was desperate. You can't fight them all. This is suicide. Probably, Jiwoo said. But it's our choice to make. You taught us about your peaceful civilization. Let us teach you about human stubbornness. Now go. That's an order. He closed the channel before Vreltoth could argue. All crew, this is the captain, Jiwoo announced shipwide. The enemy has found us. They're after the coalition fleet. Good people who helped us when we needed it. People who became our friends. I won't order anyone to fight. If you want to retreat, say so now. I'll understand. Silence filled the channel. Then Taeho's voice came through from engineering. Captain, engines are at full power. Ready when you are. Sujin spoke next from medical. Trauma bay is prepared. We'll save everyone we can. Haewon checked her weapons. All guns loaded and ready, sir. One by one, every crew member reported ready. No hesitation. No fear in their voices. Just determination. Jiwoo felt pride swell in his chest. This was humanity. This was what they did. When faced with impossible odds, when any sane species would run, they stood firm. Navigator Yuna, plot an intercept course. Get us between the Devourers and the coalition fleet. Course plotted, sir. Haewon, prepare Alpha Strike. Target the largest vessel. Hit it with everything we have. Yes, sir. Dongsu, load all missile tubes. Arm all torpedoes. Nuclear warheads authorized. Understood, Captain. Hyun, give me every bit of speed you can. We need to get there first. On it, sir. Jiwoo looked at his crew one last time. Whatever happens, I'm proud to serve with all of you. Humanity will remember this day. Remember that we didn't abandon our friends. Remember that we fought. The Indomitable turned and accelerated toward the enemy fleet. One small damaged warship against 50 fresh attackers. The coalition ships fled in the opposite direction, watching in horror and awe. They're insane, Vreltoth's tactical officer whispered. No, Vreltoth said, watching the human ship charge forward. They're brave. They're loyal. They're everything we forgot how to be. On the coalition ships, crew members watched their screens. Some prayed to their gods. Some recorded messages to send home. Some just watched in silence as one human vessel flew toward certain death to save species they barely knew. And on the Indomitable, Captain Jiwoo gave the order that would define humanity's first contact with the galaxy. All weapons fire. Space lit up with violence. Railgun rounds screamed through the void. Missiles launched in swarms. Torpedoes with nuclear warheads streaked toward the enemy. The Indomitable's full arsenal unleashed at once, every weapon firing, every system pushed beyond its limits. The nearest Devourer ship shattered under the assault. Armor cracked. Hull breached. Internal explosions ripped it apart from inside. It died. But 49 more remained, and they were angry now. They turned away from the fleeing coalition ships. They focused on the one vessel that dared to fight back. They moved as one, a swarm of death, closing in on the Indomitable. Jiwoo watched them come and smiled grimly. Round 2. Let's show them what humans can do. The battle was joined. One ship against many, defiance against impossible odds. And somewhere the galaxy was learning a new truth. Humans didn't know how to surrender. They only knew how to fight. The aliens admired human resilience and determination. The Hum commander Vreltoth received the orders from the Coalition Council at midnight. Ship time. He read them 3 times to make sure he understood correctly. Observe the humans. Learn everything possible. Under no circumstances start a conflict. Do not provoke them. Do not threaten them. Do not give them any reason to view us as enemies. The final line was underlined twice. These humans are an apex predator species. Treat them with appropriate caution. Vreltoth had never seen the Council use those words before. Apex predator. The highest level of threat classification in Coalition taxonomy, reserved for species that evolved by hunting everything else on their world. He opened a communication channel to Captain Jiwoo. Captain, the Council has approved a formal exchange. We would like to offer medical supplies, repair materials, and navigation data. In return, we ask permission to send more observers to your ship. To learn about your people and your technology. A pause. Then Jiwoo's voice came through. What kind of observers? Scientists, engineers, diplomats, no more than 10 at a time. They would stay in designated areas under your supervision. Another pause, longer this time. Vreltoth could imagine Jiwoo discussing this with his officers, weighing the risks and benefits. Agreed, Jiwoo finally said. But Commander, my crew is protective of this ship. Your people must follow our rules exactly. If they don't, they will be removed. Forcefully if necessary. Understood, Captain. We will respect your protocols. 2 days later, 8 Coalition scientists arrived on the Indomitable. Science Officer Nari met them in the hangar bay. She wore her uniform and carried a datapad with schedules and restrictions. Welcome, she said through the improved translation system. I am Nari. I will be your guide and liaison during your stay. Please follow me and listen carefully to the safety briefing. As they walked through the ship, Nari explained the rules. The gravity on this ship is set to Earth standard. 1.4 times what most of you are used to. If you feel dizzy or weak, inform me immediately. We have gravity compensators you can wear. One of the scientists, a tall being with purple skin, raised a hand. Question: why not adjust the gravity to Coalition standard? Wouldn't that be more comfortable for everyone? This is a human ship, Nari said simply. We maintain Earth gravity because that's what our bodies are designed for. It keeps us strong and healthy. If we lowered it, our muscles would weaken over time. The scientist made notes on his device. Fascinating. Your species actively chooses the more difficult environment. It's not difficult for us, Nari replied. It's normal. They continued walking. The aliens struggled with the gravity. Their steps were heavy. Their breathing became labored. Nari walked normally, barely noticing their difficulty. How is she not tired? One scientist whispered to another. She grew up in this gravity, the second replied. Her entire physiology is adapted to it. Stronger bones, denser muscles, more efficient cardiovascular system. These humans are built like load-bearing machines. They reached the engineering section. Chief Engineer Taeho was waiting. He showed them the reactor room, where massive fusion reactors hummed with barely contained power. These are our primary power sources, Taeho explained. Each reactor produces enough energy to power a small city. A Coalition engineer stepped closer to examine the reactor. The radiation shielding seems minimal. Aren't you concerned about exposure? We are exposed, Taeho said. But human cells can repair radiation damage more efficiently than most species. We evolved on a planet with a thin ozone layer. We're used to higher radiation levels. The engineer looked shocked. You work in an environment that would be lethal to us? Not lethal to us, Taeho said. Uncomfortable, maybe. Slightly risky, yes. But acceptable. We take medication to help our bodies cope, and we do regular health screenings. Another scientist spoke up. But why accept any risk? Why not build better shielding? Because better shielding means more weight. More weight means less speed and maneuverability. In combat, speed saves lives, so we accept the radiation risk to gain a tactical advantage. Taeho smiled. Everything is a trade-off. We just make different choices than you would. The aliens were silent. They were beginning to understand that humans didn't think like other species. They didn't prioritize safety and comfort. They prioritized effectiveness and survival. In the medical bay, 2 Coalition doctors observed Su-Jin as she treated a crew member. The patient had a broken arm from an accident in the cargo bay. Su-Jin injected local anesthetic and began setting the bone. Don't you use regeneration technology? One of the doctors asked. We could heal that break in hours. We don't have that technology, Sujin said, focusing on her work. But even if we did, I'm not sure we'd use it for something minor like this. Minor? A broken bone is minor? Compared to other injuries we regularly see, yes. Sujin finished setting the bone and applied a cast. This will heal in about 6 weeks. The crew member will remain on light duty during that time. But that's so slow, the other doctor said. Why not heal it faster? Sujin looked at them. Because pain teaches caution. Because healing naturally makes the bone stronger where it broke. Because struggling through recovery builds character and determination. We could make everything easy, but then we would become weak. The coalition doctors exchanged glances. Their species had eliminated pain and suffering centuries ago. They had technology to fix any injury, cure any disease, extend life far beyond natural limits. They thought they had achieved perfection. But looking at Sujin, at her confident movements and calm demeanor, they wondered. Maybe humans knew something they had forgotten. Maybe strength came from enduring hardship, not avoiding it. On the observation deck, Navigator Yuna stood with 3 coalition scientists. They looked out at the stars together. Yuna was showing them navigation charts explaining how humans found their way through space. You still use visual navigation? One scientist asked. Looking at stars and calculating positions? Of course, Yuna said. Our computer systems do the calculations, but we still train to navigate manually. If our computers fail, we need backup methods. Our computers never fail, the scientist said. Neither did ours, Yuna replied, until they did. During the battle with the Devourers, we lost primary navigation. Half our sensors were destroyed, but I could still see the stars. I could still calculate our position using basic mathematics and observation. That's how we found the wormhole that brought us here. You navigated through a battle using only your eyes and your mind, and my training, and my crew's trust in me. Yuna smiled. Humans have a saying, hope for the best but prepare for the worst. We hope our technology works, but we prepare for when it doesn't. One of the scientists moved closer to the window. Navigator Yuna, may I ask a personal question? Go ahead. What was it like? Fighting the Devourers? Were you afraid? Yuna was quiet for a moment. Yes, I was terrified. We all were. But fear doesn't mean stopping. Fear means being smart, being careful, being ready. We felt the fear and did our jobs anyway. But how? How do you function when you're that scared? Training, trust in your crew, and something else. Yuna turned to look at the alien. We have this idea on Earth, we call it stubborn determination. When things get bad, when everything seems hopeless, we just refuse to quit. We keep trying. We keep fighting. Sometimes it's stupid, sometimes it gets us killed, but sometimes it's the only thing that saves us. The scientists were silent, processing this. Their species had survival instincts too, but they were different. When faced with overwhelming danger, they fled. They hid, they called for help. The idea of standing and fighting despite fear was alien to them. Literally alien, I think, one scientist said slowly. That humans are very brave, or very foolish. Perhaps both, Yuna laughed. You're probably right. But we're still here, still alive, so maybe our foolishness works for us. In Captain Jiwoo's ready room, Commander Vreltoth sat across the desk. They had been talking for hours about their respective homes, their cultures, their histories. Tell me about the Devourers, Vreltoth said. Everything you know. Jiwoo pulled up files on his screen. Images showed massive ships, dark and organic looking. Like living creatures more than machines. We don't know much, Jiwoo admitted. They appeared 3 months ago in the outer colonies. No warning, no communication attempts. They just attacked. Their ships are biological. They can repair damage by growing new tissue. They can adapt to our weapons after seeing them a few times. How do you fight something like that? We keep changing tactics, keep surprising them. But it's hard. They're relentless. They don't negotiate. They don't retreat. They just consume everything in their path. Jiwoo looked tired. We've evacuated 12 colonies so far. Millions of refugees. And the Devourers keep coming. Vreltoth felt a chill. Captain, if these creatures entered Coalition space, you would need to fight, Jiwoo said bluntly. There's no diplomacy with them. No peaceful solution, just survival or extinction. The Coalition is not prepared for war. Then you'd better prepare fast. Because if they followed us here, you won't have much time. Vreltoth stood and paced the small room. The council won't believe me. 300 years apiece. They've forgotten what war looks like. Show them the records, Jiwoo said. The tour had been going well for 2 hours. Then everything went wrong. It started when pilot Hyun activated a routine scan from the navigation station. He was trying to map the surrounding space to understand where they were. It was a standard procedure. Completely harmless, but the coalition ships didn't see it that way. Commander. The voice came through Vreltoth's communicator, urgent and loud. The human ship is scanning us. Deep scans. They're targeting our systems. Vreltoth's skin changed color, showing alarm. Captain Jiwoo, please tell your crew to stop their scans. My ships are interpreting them as hostile targeting. Jiwoo pulled out his radio. Hyun, cease all scans immediately. Sir, I'm just mapping the area. Now, Hyun. The scans stopped, but it was too late. On the bridge of the Kaishuri cruiser, the captain made a decision. If the humans were targeting his ship, he would show strength. He would fire a warning shot. A bright bolt of plasma shot across space. It wasn't aimed at the Indomitable. It passed 100 meters to the side. A warning, nothing more, but Tactical Officer Haewon saw it differently. Weapons fire detected, she called out. Her hands moved across her controls with practiced speed. Point defense engaging. The Indomitable's automated defense system came alive. Guns rotated. Computers calculated trajectories. And before anyone could countermand the order, the ship fired. The plasma bolt vanished, destroyed by a stream of metal projectiles. But the system didn't stop there. It identified the source of the attack and responded to eliminate the threat. 3 coalition sensor drones exploded in silent flashes of light. Cease fire, Jiwoo shouted into the radio. Haewon, stand down. But Weapons Officer Dongsu had already launched a response. His fingers had been resting on the torpedo controls. When he saw the plasma bolt, instinct took over. Training took over. The need to protect his ship took over. A single torpedo shot from the Indomitable. It was fast. Incredibly fast. It streaked toward the coalition flagship, passing within 30 meters of its hull. Close enough that people inside could see it through the windows. Close enough that they could read the writing on its side. The torpedo continued past the flagship and detonated in empty space, 300 meters away. The explosion was enormous, a ball of fire and energy that expanded outward. An electromagnetic pulse washed over 17 coalition ships. Their systems flickered. Lights went dark. Engines stopped. Communication systems failed. For 10 seconds, the coalition fleet was completely helpless. On the hangar bay of the Indomitable, the Marines raised their weapons. The aliens stepped back, hands up, fear on their faces. For a moment, violence hung in the air like smoke. Stand down, Jiwoo roared. Everyone stand down. The Marines lowered their weapons slowly. Jiwoo turned to Commander Vreltoth. That was not an attack. That was a defensive response. My crew thought you fired on us. We didn't fire on you, Vreltoth said, his voice shaking. That was a warning shot. We were responding to your targeting scans. Those weren't targeting scans. That was navigation mapping. The 2 commanders stared at each other. Understanding came slowly. This was a misunderstanding, Jiwoo said. A misunderstanding that nearly started a war, Vreltoth replied. In the coalition flagship, emergency power came online. Captain Shentar of the Kaishuri Navy stood on his bridge, looking at the damage reports. 17 ships disabled, 7 ships with damaged systems, 0 casualties, but only because the humans had aimed their torpedo away from any vessels. Analysis, he demanded. His tactical officer looked pale. Captain, that was a single torpedo. Standard yield by our estimates. But the electromagnetic pulse was far stronger than any weapon we've encountered. It was designed to disable electronics, not destroy ships. They could have killed us, Shentar said quietly, but they chose not to. Sir, there's more. Our sensors recorded the human ship's response time. From the moment we fired our warning shot to the moment they launched their torpedo, 0.8 seconds. Shentar felt cold. That's impossible. No crew can respond that fast. The humans did, sir, and their point defense system destroyed our plasma bolt and 3 drones in 0.3 seconds. All automatic. All without human input. Send a message to the council, Shentar ordered. Tell them the humans have automated defense systems that respond faster than any species in the coalition. Tell them that fighting these humans would be suicide. Captain Jiwoo stood in his ready room with Commander Vreltoth. The alien commander sat in a chair that had been adjusted for his physiology. He looked tired. "We need to establish better communication," Jiwoo said. "These misunderstandings are dangerous." "Agreed," Vreltoth replied. "But there's something you need to understand, Captain. The Coalition is not a military organization. We are explorers, traders, diplomats. We have defense fleets, yes, but we have not fought a real war in over 300 years. Jiwoo poured water into 2 glasses and offered one to Vreltoth. "Then you're lucky. We've been fighting wars for our entire history. Against each other, against our environment, against everything. We gathered that from studying your ship. Captain, may I ask a personal question?" "Go ahead. Why do you build ships like this? Why so many weapons? Why such heavy armor? What are you afraid of?" Jiwoo sat down. "We're not afraid, Commander. We're prepared. There's a difference." He pulled up an image on his data pad. "This is Earth, our homeworld. Beautiful, yes, but also deadly. The atmosphere is corrosive. The gravity is crushing. The weather can kill you. The animals can kill you. The plants can kill you. Even the air is trying to burn you slowly through oxidation." Vreltoth looked at the image with wide eyes. "This is a death world. We call it home," Jiwoo said. "Humans evolved by being tougher than everything else, smarter, more persistent. We didn't become the dominant species because we were the strongest. We became dominant because we refused to give up, ever." "And the Devourers? The enemy you mentioned?" Jiwoo's expression darkened. 3 months ago, they attacked one of our colony worlds. 5 million people lived there. When we arrived, there were only ruins. The Devourers don't negotiate. They don't communicate. They just consume everything and move on. How many ships did you lose fighting them? 27, including the Indomitable, which barely escaped. Jiwoo looked out the window at the stars. "That's why we build ships like this, Commander. Because our galaxy is not as peaceful as yours. Because there are things out there that want to destroy us, and we will not let them." Vreltoth was quiet for a long moment. "The Coalition needs to know about this threat. If these Devourers are as dangerous as you say, they are, and if they followed us through that wormhole, your space might be in danger too." On the bridge, Lieutenant Quan worked with the Coalition's linguistic expert, a small furry alien named Pip. Together, they were building a better translation protocol. "Your language is fascinating," Pip said, his voice high and musical. "So many harsh sounds. So much emotional content in single words." "Your language is beautiful," Quan replied. "Like singing. But it's hard to translate concepts of combat and warfare. Your language doesn't have many words for those things." "We don't need them," Pip said. "The Coalition has been at peace for centuries." "That must be nice," Quan said quietly. "Humans have never known true peace. There's always been conflict somewhere." "That sounds exhausting." "It is. But it makes us strong. It makes us ready." Quan paused. "Can I tell you something, Pip? When that plasma bolt hit, I was scared. My first thought was that we were being attacked. That we would have to fight. And a part of me was ready for that. Willing to do it." "Is that wrong?" Pip tilted his head. "Not wrong, just different. We would have tried to run, to hide, to call for help. You chose to fight back. Neither response is wrong. They're just different survival strategies. What would you have done if we had attacked you?" "Died, probably," Pip said honestly. "We're not built for combat. But you are. Your bodies, your minds, your whole species. You're designed for survival through strength." Quan looked at the alien. "Are you afraid of us?" "Yes," Pip admitted. "But I'm also impressed. And curious, and hopeful that we can be friends rather than enemies." "So are we," Quan said. In the engineering section, Taiho worked with 2 Coalition engineers. They were trying to understand each other's technology. "It was frustrating. But why would you use such volatile fuel?" one of the aliens asked. "Our fusion reactors are stable for decades without maintenance. Ours are more powerful," Taiho explained. "We sacrifice some safety for better performance. On Earth we have a saying, 'Nothing good is easy.'" "We have a similar saying," the alien replied. "But ours is, 'The best solution is the simplest one.'" "Different philosophies," Taiho said. "You build for efficiency. We build for power and redundancy. When something breaks, we want backups. And backups for the backups." The alien looked around at the engineering bay. Multiple systems ran in parallel. Every critical function had 2 or 3 alternatives. "This seems excessive. This is why we're still alive," Taiho said. When we took damage in battle, half our systems failed, but the other half kept working. That's the point. The alien nodded slowly. I think I understand now. You expect things to break, so you prepare for it, exactly. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. The aliens worked with the humans for hours. Slowly, they began to respect each other. Thelmora guided her small shuttle toward the human warship. Her hands shook slightly on the controls. She had made first contact with 7 species in her career. None of them had scared her like this. The shuttle's computer kept showing warnings. Distance 4 kilometers, 3 kilometers, 2 kilometers. The human ship grew larger on her screen. Up close, it looked even more frightening. The damage was terrible. Holes in the hull showed the ship's interior. But still, weapon ports tracked her movement with perfect precision. Indomitable, this is Diplomatic Officer Thelmora of the Galactic Coalition. I come in peace. I am unarmed. I request permission to speak with your commander. Static filled her radio for a moment. Then a voice responded. The translation software struggled with the language. Words came out broken and strange. Shuttle, remain distance. Scanning your vessel. Thelmora felt her skin prickle. The human ship was scanning her. She could feel it somehow, like invisible hands touching her shuttle. Then something changed. Her instruments went crazy. A targeting lock appeared on her screen. Warning, her computer said calmly. Weapon lock detected. Recommend immediate evasion. Thelmora's breath caught in her throat. Indomitable, I am not a threat. I am a diplomat. Please do not. Light flashed. A projectile shot past her shuttle, missing by less than 50 meters. It traveled at incredible speed and struck an asteroid 2 kilometers away. The asteroid exploded. Just exploded. Into dust and fragments. Thelmora sat frozen in her seat. That was a warning shot. The humans could have killed her easily. Instead, they showed her what they could do. Her radio crackled again. Shuttle. Maintain current distance. Do not approach closer. Next shot. Will not miss. Thelmora turned her shuttle around and flew back to the Coalition fleet. Her heart was beating so fast it hurt. When she landed, Commander Vreltoth was waiting. Well? He asked. They're terrifying, Thelmora said. That warning shot destroyed an asteroid. One shot and their ship is damaged. Imagine what it could do at full power. Vreltoth nodded slowly. The Council has ordered us to establish a quarantine zone. 5 kilometers. No ship gets closer without permission. What else did the Council say? They want more information. About the ship. About the species. About everything. Vreltoth walked to the observation window and looked at the human warship. Our scientists have analyzed what little data we collected. The humans come from a high-gravity world. Their ship compensates for 1.4 times standard gravity. Thelmora blinked. That's a death world classification. Yes, and their weapons are not energy-based like ours. They use kinetic projectiles and explosive warheads, primitive by our standards. But the force they generate, Vreltoth shook his head. One of their railgun rounds carries energy equal to a fusion bomb. How is that possible? Because they accelerate solid metal to a significant fraction of light speed. The impact alone is devastating. No shields, no armor can stop it completely. Thelmora sat down. What kind of species develops weapons like that? A species that needs them, Vreltoth said quietly. A species from a dangerous world. A species that fights to survive. Inside the Indomitable, Captain Jiwoo studied the alien ships on his screen. The aliens had pulled back and established a perimeter. Good. That gave him time to think, Quan. He said to his translator. Any progress on their language? Lieutenant Quan looked up from his station. Some. Their language has a complex structure. Multiple clicking sounds, harmonic tones, and what appears to be color-based communication. Our software is adapting, but it will take time. We don't have time. Send another message. Use simple words. Tell them we need repairs. Tell them we need navigation data. Tell them we can trade for it. Trade what, sir? We barely have enough supplies for ourselves. Jiwoo thought for a moment. Information. About our technology. About Earth, they seem curious. Use that. While Quan worked, Chief Engineer Taeho entered the bridge. He looked exhausted. His uniform was torn and dirty. Captain, we have a problem, Taeho said. A bigger problem than aliens. How much bigger? Reactor number 2 is failing. The cooling system took damage in the battle. If it overheats, it could breach. We'd have a radiation leak throughout half the ship. Jiwoo closed his eyes. Can you fix it? Not without replacement parts. Parts we don't have, what do you need? Teho pulled up a list on his datapad. Coolant pipes, radiation shielding, control circuits. Basic stuff, but we used our spares in previous repairs. Jiwoo looked at the alien ships on his screen. Then he made a decision. Contact them. Ask if they can provide these materials. Show them what we need. Sir, said Weapons Officer Dong-Soo, that would reveal our ship's internal systems. Our weaknesses? We don't have a choice, Jiwoo said. If the reactor breaches, we're dead anyway. At least this way we might survive. Commander Vreltoth stared at the message from the human ship. It contained detailed images of components and materials. The humans were asking for help. They were showing vulnerability. This is good, Thelmora said. They're willing to cooperate. This could be the beginning of peaceful contact. Or a trap, said the security chief. They show us their damaged systems, we send supplies, they capture our cargo ship. Look at their ship, Vreltoth said. Really look at it. They don't need to trick us. If they wanted to attack, they would just attack. He opened a communication channel. Indomitable. This is Commander Vreltoth of the Coalition Fleet. We will provide the materials you requested. But we have a condition. Allow our engineers to see your ship. Let us understand your technology. We want to learn about your species. A long pause followed. Then the human captain's voice came through. The translation was better now, clearer. Commander Vreltoth, this is Captain Jiwoo. Your terms are acceptable. But only a small group. And only in our hangar bay. My security team will escort you. Do you agree? Vreltoth smiled. The human was cautious, smart, agreed. We will send 3 engineers and 1 diplomat, myself included. Very well. You may approach. But Commander, keep your hands visible at all times. My crew is nervous. Do not give them a reason to shoot. The channel closed. Vreltoth turned to Thelmora. Select 2 of our best engineers. Non-threatening species only. Nothing with claws or sharp teeth. We don't want to scare them. Thelmora laughed. Commander, they're the scary ones. Not us. Are you sure about that? Vreltoth pointed at the screen. We're about to board their ship. In their territory. With their weapons pointed at us. I think we should be the ones who are scared. In the hangar bay of the Indomitable, 8 Marines stood in formation. They wore armor and carried weapons. Their faces were hidden behind helmets. They looked like metal statues, silent and still. Chief Engineer Teho stood with them, along with Science Officer Nari. They watched the airlock door and waited. Remember, Teho said, be polite. Don't touch anything, and don't point your weapons at them unless they threaten us first. One of the Marines spoke, his voice filtered through his helmet. Sir, what if they do threaten us? Then you shoot them, Teho said simply. But let's hope it doesn't come to that. The airlock cycled. Air hissed. The door opened. 4 figures stepped through. They were nothing like humans. One was tall and thin with blue skin and 4 arms. Another was short and round, covered in fur. The third had scales and a long tail. And the fourth, the commander, had gray skin and large eyes that blinked sideways. For a moment nobody moved. Humans and aliens stared at each other. Then Commander Vreltoth raised his hands slowly, palms out, a gesture of peace. Captain Jiwoo, thank you for allowing us aboard. Captain Jiwoo stepped forward. He was shorter than Vreltoth, but his presence filled the room. Commander, welcome to the Indomitable. I hope this visit will benefit us both. The 2 leaders looked at each other. Different species, different worlds, different everything. But in that moment they understood something important. They both wanted to survive. They both wanted peace. And maybe, just maybe, they could help each other get it. Come, Jiwoo said. Let me show you what humans build when they need to defend themselves. As they walked through the ship, the aliens saw everything. The heavy gravity that made walking difficult. The thick armor plating on the walls. The massive weapon systems. The crew working without complaint despite injuries and exhaustion. And they began to understand. These humans were not cruel or evil. They were simply from a world that demanded strength. They built ships like this because they had to. Because their universe was dangerous. Because survival meant being ready for anything. The aliens looked at the humans with new eyes. Not with fear, but with respect. The alarm broke the silence on the bridge of the Kashari patrol ship. Commander Vreltoth lifted his head from the navigation display and felt his throat tighten. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Commander, we have an unknown vessel. His sensor officer called out. It just appeared on our scanners. No warp signature. No distortion trail. It's just there. Vreltoth moved to the main screen. The vessel floated in the darkness of space, rotating slowly. It was unlike anything in the Coalition database. The ship was dark gray, almost black, with sharp angles and strange markings on its hull. Parts of it were torn open, leaking atmosphere into the void. Debris drifted around it like a cloud of metal insects. Run a full scan, Vreltoth ordered. Identify it. The sensor officer's fingers moved across his console. Then he froze. His skin changed color, shifting to a pale blue that showed fear among his species. Commander, you need to see this. Vreltoth walked over and looked at the display. Red warnings covered the screen. Words flashed in urgent patterns. Extreme danger. Weapons online. Unknown technology. Do not engage. That's impossible, Vreltoth whispered. The ship is damaged, half dead. How can it be dangerous? Sir, every weapon system is active. The ship is locked onto us, and onto the Vortian cruiser, and the Telmar destroyer. It's tracking all 23 ships in our fleet at the same time. Vreltoth felt cold. Can you identify the weapons? No, sir. They don't match anything in our records. But the energy readings are massive. Each weapon port shows power levels equal to our main cannons. How many weapon ports does it have? The sensor officer swallowed hard. 73, sir. That we can detect. The bridge went silent. A ship with 73 weapons, each as powerful as their main cannons. And it was damaged. What was this thing at full strength? Get me the council, Vreltoth said. Now. Inside the damaged warship, darkness covered most of the corridors. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls. Water dripped from broken pipes. Sparks fell from exposed wires. The ship groaned and creaked like a dying animal. In the medical bay, Chief Medical Officer Su Jin worked over the body of Captain Jiwoo. Blood covered her hands. The captain's breathing was shallow and weak. His uniform was torn and burned. Pieces of metal had cut into his skin during the explosion. Stay with me, Su Jin whispered. She injected medicine into his arm and checked his vital signs. His heartbeat was there, faint but steady. You're not dying today. I won't allow it. Behind her, 3 more crew members lay on medical beds. 2 were stable. 1 was not. Su Jin had already lost 4 people in the battle. She would not lose more. The door opened. Chief Engineer Taeho stepped inside, his face covered in grease and sweat. How is he? Alive, Su Jin said. Barely. How's the ship? Alive, barely. Taeho sat down heavily. Life support is at 40%. Main engines are dead. We're running on backup power. The hull has 17 breaches, and we have no idea where we are. The wormhole? It wasn't stable. We got pulled through before it collapsed. It could have thrown us anywhere. We might be 1,000 light years from home, or 1,000,000. Su Jin closed her eyes. What about the enemy? No sign of them. Maybe they didn't follow. Maybe they can't. Or maybe they're just waiting. Taeho stood up. I need to get back to engineering. We need to seal those hull breaches before we lose more air. After he left, Su Jin looked at Captain Jiwoo. Wake up, she said softly. We need you. The Coalition Council met an emergency session. Representatives from 12 species filled the chamber. Their holographic forms projected across light years of space. They all stared at the image of the unknown vessel on the main screen. This is unprecedented, said Council Leader Mothara. We have no record of this species. No first contact protocols were filed. No exploration vessels reported new civilizations in that sector. The ship's markings have been analyzed, said the Kashari representative. They appear to be letters, a word, Trochaeus, and another word, indomitable. Below that, Terran Defense Force. Terran, Mothara repeated. Search all databases for this word. A moment passed. Nothing, Council Leader. The word does not exist in any known language. Diplomatic Officer Thelmora stepped forward. Her species was known for peaceful contact with new civilizations. Council, I volunteer to approach the vessel. We must attempt communication. You saw the warnings, another representative said. That ship is extremely dangerous. All the more reason to establish peaceful contact before this becomes a conflict, Thelmora replied. We are the Galactic Coalition. We resolve problems through diplomacy, not fear. The council debated for an hour. Finally, Mothara made the decision. Approach but with extreme caution. Take an unarmed shuttle. Make no threatening moves. Enthelmora. Be prepared to retreat at any moment. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Tactical Officer Hei-Wan sat at her station. Her fingers moved across the controls, checking each weapon system. Despite the damage, despite the failing power, every gun and missile launcher was ready. Hei-Wan, said Navigator Yuna from her station. We have 23 contacts surrounding us. Unknown design. Unknown origin. They're just watching. Distance, 5 kilometers. Holding position. Hei-Wan pulled up the tactical display. The alien ships formed a loose ring around the Indomitable. None of them were moving. None of them had weapons charged. But that could change in a heartbeat. Status of Aegis? Hei-Wan asked. Online, replied Weapons Officer Dongsu. The AI defense system is tracking all targets. If any of them makes a hostile move, it will respond automatically. Good. Hei-Wan studied the alien vessels. They looked delicate, almost artistic. Smooth curves and bright colors. Nothing like human warships. What do you think they want? Maybe they're curious, Yuna said. We did appear out of nowhere. Or maybe they're deciding the best way to attack us, Dongsu added. Hei-Wan didn't respond. She just watched the screen and kept her hand near the firing controls. In the medical bay, Captain Jiwoo's eyes opened. He gasped and tried to sit up. Sujin pushed him back down gently. Easy, she said. You've been unconscious for 6 hours. You're injured. The ship, Jiwoo said, his voice rough. Status. Damaged but functional. We survived. The enemy? Gone, but we have a new problem. Sujin helped him sit up slowly. We're not alone anymore, and we don't know if our new neighbors are friends or enemies. Jiwoo closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Then he stood up, ignoring the pain in his body. Take me to the bridge. Captain, you need to rest. Take me to the bridge, Sujin. That's an order. She nodded and helped him walk. As they moved through the damaged corridors, Jiwoo saw his crew working hard. They were sealing breaches, fixing wires, carrying supplies. They were exhausted and hurt, but they didn't stop. They never stopped. That's what humans did. They kept going. When Jiwoo reached the bridge, everyone turned to look at him. Relief showed on their faces. Report, he said, sitting carefully in the captain's chair. Hei-Wan explained the situation. 23 alien vessels. Unknown species. No communication. Weapons ready on both sides. Jiwoo looked at the screen. He studied the alien ships for a long moment. Then he spoke quietly. Prepare a message. All frequencies. Tell them we are the Terran Defense Force. Tell them we are lost and damaged. And tell them we want peace, he paused. But keep all weapons online, just in case they don't want the same thing.